Along with diplomacy, the Abraham Accords have certainly opened up for Israeli businesses and entrepreneurs a new market in the United Arab Emirates that's rich in capital and connections. But how will they be able to successfully navigate this terra nova, this uncharted territory? Well, one new venture is proposing to help them set up new businesses in the UAE. It is called Virtuzone Israel. It's a joint project between the UAE's Virtuzone, which focuses on providing corporate services in the Emirates, and APEX Holdings, which operates a number of businesses in the UAE, focusing on trade with Israel. And joining us now from Dubai is Petch, the chairman and co-founder of Virtuzone. And Neil, I gave a sort of a very basic general description of what Virtuzone will be doing. Maybe go into a little more detail. Say I'm an Israeli businessman. I have a dream. I want to sell or import something from the UAE. How is Virtuzone going to help me?
Well, forget your dream. It's my dream. I've lived here 26 years, and I don't think we've ever had such an opportunity. We're 3 hours away from Israel, and we have got used in the UAE to 0% corporation tax, 0% income tax. But that's probably like manna from heaven to some people from around the world. So we're very, very much looking forward to making that available to Israeli businessmen. I guess there's two kinds of people that are going to be coming. There's the sort who are running global businesses and can structure them from the UAE. Previously, they may have considered Malta or Gibraltar or Cyprus. They can structure it here. They can run things, amazing infrastructure, the world's greatest airline, deep water port, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's the businessmen who are literally going to come over because they see a new opportunity. And for the UAE and Dubai, this is an incredible opportunity, just as much as it is for the Israeli businessmen out there.
Right. Now, you mentioned the lack of income tax. Believe me, I have some journalistic colleagues in the UAE that enjoy it. Let's talk about another aspect that certainly bedevils people setting up business: bureaucracy. I don't know how much you know about Israel. It's in that regard, there are a lot of complaints from the business community about dealing with regulations and bureaucracy and setting up new businesses. What's the situation in the UAE, and how would Virtuzone be helping there?
Well, that's a really good question, because it is a juggling act. You've got to make sure, you've got to show the authorities that the right kind of people are coming in. So you do have to have KYC, but you need to have light touch regulation so it's easy for the consumer. And the UAE has been a trading nation for 60 years. It's all about trying to make it easy for people. Now, what Virtuzone does is there are about 60 different jurisdictions that you can use in the UAE, mainly free zones, but offshore and onshore as well. And what Virtuzone and our partnership with APEX does is it guides you through that minefield. And I think very importantly, because a lot of Israelis are going to be very excited about this, but also full of trepidation. It's a strange place with strange regulations. So the reason for our partnership with APEX is because we speak the Israeli language, quite literally, and also from a business point of view. So it's very important that that trust is there, that that knowledge is there, and that we guide you, because it's very, very easy to try and take a shortcut and then find that you've set up in the wrong jurisdiction, using the wrong process. You thought you'd saved a bit of time and money, and in reality, you hadn't.
Neil, you mentioned Israelis being excited. I'm sure everyone from every startup in the Tel Aviv, Herzliya area to every person that owns the corner falafel store thinks they're going to be setting up shop in Dubai or Abu Dhabi. Let's be realistic, though. Where do you see the Israeli businesses that are going to come in there, certainly in the coming short term, and be able to successfully set up some kind of shop that will do business in the Emirates?
We've already been following this for some time. As you know, the UAE Israel Business Council has been set up for some considerable time. It's got a great database already. We at Virtuzone have been following the SEO traffic. There's been a huge amount of interest, and I could go right across the board. I think real estate's going to do fantastic. F&B is going to do fantastic. But from my perspective, the areas where we can move fastest We've heard so much about the Israeli fintech industry. We're very, very excited to work with that. And I believe that they'll have an opportunity to shine and find niches here. DIFC, which is the International Finance Center here, has a specific fintech hub that we represent. So I'm sure that that's going to do well as management consultancy, the kind of light touch businesses that you can set up quickly. You can dip your toe in the market, you can see how it's doing, and then further to that, after a little while, you can put down your base and open your office and so on. There's not a requirement immediately to open an office, so you can actually get your boots on the pavement quickly with minimal cost. I think that's one of the other advantages.
Now, Neil, just for a lot of Israelis, I think they're already looking at the UAE as a kind of a golden Medina, or a country with gold in the streets. How about a little words of caution, a little words of warning for Israelis to have maybe realistic expectations or mistakes they shouldn't be making?
Well, listen, I think that the world is facing a huge challenge at the moment. Certainly what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a bridge. This isn't just about the UAE. It's actually about reaching out to the rest of the world. I would argue that if you've got a made in Dubai or a made in UAE sticker on what you're doing as an Israeli, you're going to be able to sell that better in the Far East and Hong Kong, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. However, much as there are opportunities there, as you mentioned, we've got our own red tape as well. So make sure that you are guided through that difficult minefield by someone that you trust.
And I presumably your enterprise will be there as one of those that could be available.
We set up 500 companies a month already, and that's before you guys have come over here. So we're really excited.
Okay, Neil Petch, chairman and co-founder of Virtuzone. Thank you for speaking to us on I-24 News.
Thank you for your time.